Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Amherst. I'm Reverend Michelle Buchheit, the minister of this congregation. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. This is our third week of in-person worship since we closed our doors in March 2020 due to the pandemic. In addition to in-person worship, we will continue to offer services online in whatever form that best honors our staff and volunteers' energy and workload. This is a time of some anxiety and incredible opportunity, and it is my hope that each of you will find the best way for you to be in relationship with this beloved community.
My name is Angela Warren, UU Amherst Director of Faith Development. My pronouns, which I offer to create a truly inclusive and brave space for all to live into the fullness of their identities, are she and her. We begin our time together by lighting the chalice. The flaming chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism, the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of our commitment to bring more justice and compassion to a hurting world. Our chalice lighting words today come from the Reverend Joel Cherry. If we have any hope of transforming the world and changing ourselves, we must be bold enough to step into our discomfort, brave enough to be clumsy there, loving enough to forgive ourselves and others. May we, as a people of faith, be granted the strength to be so bold, so brave, and so loving. It's been said that Unitarian Universalism is the religion that puts its faith in you, trusting each individual to engage in the spiritual journey and to reach our own conclusions about spiritual matters. We do that in beloved community as we support one another in faith and in friendship. In that spirit, this congregation has created a covenant, a sacred promise of how we will strive to be with one another. Please join me in speaking our covenant. Together we promise to gather in compassionate community, to celebrate diversity of thought and unity of spirit, and to seek wholeness for ourselves, our children, and our world. As we gather, we acknowledge that our church is built on occupied land that once belonged to the First Nations people of this region, the Haudenosaunee. Today, we also extend gratitude to all of the water protectors in Minnesota who are protesting the continuation of the Line 3 pipeline through the state. We say to Yahweh, thank you in the Seneca language, to those arrested in the name of climate justice, and to all the organizations and individuals who are putting their bodies on the line for the healthy continuation of life on the beautiful blue boat we call Earth.
Our opening reading today comes from Adrienne Marie Brown's book, Emergent Strategy. She begins with a definition of emergence offered by Nick Oblensky. Emergence is the way complex systems and patterns arise out of a multiplicity of relatively simple interactions. She then goes on to say this. In the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. There are examples of emergence everywhere. Birds don't make a plan to migrate, raising resources to fund their way, packing for scarce times, mapping out their pit stops. They feel a call in their bodies that they must go, and they follow it, responding to each other, each bringing their adaptations. There is an art to flocking, staying separate enough not to crowd each other, aligned enough to maintain a shared direction, and cohesive enough to always move towards each other, responding to destiny together. Destiny is a calling that creates a beautiful journey. Emergence is beyond what the sum of its parts could even imagine. A group of caterpillars or nymphs might not see flight in their future, but it's inevitable. It's destiny. Oak trees don't set an intention to listen to each other better or agree to hold tight to each other when the next storm comes. Under the earth, always they reach for each other. They grow such that their roots are intertwined and create a system of strength that is as resilient on a sunny day as it is in a hurricane. Dandelions don't know whether they are a weed or a brilliance, but each seed can create a field of dandelions. We are invited to be that prolific and to return fertility to the soil around us. Cells may not know civilization is possible. They don't amass as many units as they can sign up to be the same. No, they grow until they split, complexify. Then they interact and intersect and discover their purpose. I am a lung cell. I am a tongue cell. And then they serve it and they die. And what emerges from these cycles are complex organisms, systems, movements, societies. I think I'll stop there, but truly I could just keep reading. The funny thing is that I read this book a year ago, and it just didn't stick. I wondered about that as I reached for it to prepare for this service. The image that came to mind was Velcro. Velcro only works because of its two complementary pieces, a sticking piece and a receiving piece. Last summer, I did not have the energy to provide the receiving piece, so Brown's words didn't stick. This summer, I am able to do my part in the ongoing conversation. I am ready to receive.
We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We are climbing Jacob's ladder. We
is the final installment in the three-part series, The Big Comeback, our congregation-wide intentional return to in-person church. In the first installment of the series, we talked about embracing and celebrating change. We learned that change can be exhilarating and exhausting, and that we are co-creators in creative interchange. We are the instruments of change. The second installment focused on relationships and brushing up on our skills of restoration and reconciliation after 16 months apart, building bridges rather than fences, and treating one another with kindness and compassion. Today, our focus is on creating and maintaining healthy systems. The title of today's installment is Healthy Branches, Healthy Tree. It is up to each of us to create and maintain health in ourselves, as well as to encourage health in one another. When those conditions are met, the larger body is more apt to exhibit health, especially as we are intentional in creating healthy systems based on a common mission and vision and held together by the power of covenant. We are the branches. This beloved community is the tree. Of course, when we broaden our vision, we discover that this beloved community is but one of many branches, and the wider community, indeed the world, is the tree. Author Adrienne Maree Brown would identify that as the fractal nature of emergence. But wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. If you tuned into the first installment of this series, then you will remember that I leaned heavily on science fiction writer Octavia Butler's theme of change in her book, Parable of the Sower. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. This is the very essence of emergence, and it is the basis of much of Adrienne Maree Brown's insights regarding emergent strategy. Brown's writing is infused with the themes found throughout Octavia Butler's stories and novels. Brown, whose pronouns are they and them, identifies these themes as fractal, adaptive, non-linear, resilient and leading to transformative justice, interdependent and decentralized, creating more possibilities, reflective and scholarly, practical and bound by intention. Don't worry if you didn't catch all that. We will cover the concepts that are germane to the conversation in the reflection to follow. A moment ago, I described the process of emergence through the relative health of branches and trees, and how it relates to our healthy behaviors as individuals and as a community of faith. I noted that the example of broadening our vision to include the wider community and even the earth and beyond was fractal. A fractal is a never-ending pattern. Fractals are infinitely complex patterns that are self-similar across different scales. They are created by repeating a simple process over and over in an ongoing feedback loop. For our purposes, it is simply the relationship between small and large. Our healthy behaviors influence the slightly larger system of our church, and our church's healthy behaviors influence the slightly larger system of Amherst, which influences the slightly larger system of New York State, etc., etc. As the third in a series, we are not starting from scratch. We have the wisdom gained over the last 2 weeks to help us contextualize and expand our understanding of what it means to be healthy branches, fostering a healthy tree. Our openness to change creates resilience, which makes it possible for us to navigate conflict and respond with creative compassion. We apply that learning to other situations and discover that the skills and tools do indeed transfer. Our efforts yield transformation in ourselves, in one another, and in ripples of impact that we can only begin to imagine. As a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, so our desire to foster more compassion and justice in the world begins with ourselves.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. And he would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much. And the tree was happy. But time went by. And the boy grew older. And the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, Come and climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?" "I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money, and you will be happy." And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy, and she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I'm too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife, and I want children, so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." So the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play." "I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will carry me far, far away from here. Can you give me a boat?" "Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." So the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. After a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone. My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy. "My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them." "I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy. "My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb." "I am too tired to climb," said the boy. "I am sorry," said the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry." "I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired." "Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could. "Well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down. Sit down and rest." And the boy did. And the tree was happy. The end.
I definitely have some feelings about Shel Silverstein's story, The Giving Tree. At times in my life, I have been the tree, giving and giving and giving until I had nothing left of my resources or of myself. That extreme selflessness is lifted up as something noble and life-giving. And I suppose from the viewpoint of the boy in the story, that must seem true. Did you notice how one way the relationship between the tree and the boy was, even from the beginning? The boy only came around when he wanted something, and he did not hesitate to take every last thing the tree had to offer. The tree's sacrifice is not noble. It is an example of terrible personal boundaries. A boundary is simply understanding where you end and someone else begins. Boundaries are multifaceted. They can be our personal needs for space, as well as understanding of who belongs in a communication. Let's begin with the first and easiest example, personal space. Have you noticed that not everyone shares the same understanding of personal space? Some folks just move all up in your business, possibly causing you to step back a step or two. I like to call that the personal phone booth of space. although that example is lost on younger generations. A little 3-foot buffer of space can make all the difference, even in a friendly conversation. The pandemic has stretched that personal space to 6 feet, and I am fine with that being the new normal. Boundaries in communication are a little more complicated. Let's use an example that may not be too far-fetched for you to relate to it. Sheila and Pete are in a committee meeting. Pete tries to share an insight, but Sheila, who is anxious to finish the meeting on time, just talks over him and keeps to the agenda. Pete's feelings are hurt, and he clams up. The meeting ends on time, and Sheila dashes to her car. Pete grumbles to a couple of the other committee members, and one of them, not wanting there to be trouble in the group, goes to the minister to complain about Sheila's behavior and suggests that the minister call Pete to check on him. Wow, where do we even begin? Remember our conversation last week about intent and impact? We may not intend harm, but the impact that is created can be harmful. Nobody in this scenario had bad intentions. Sheila just wanted to stay on task and get home. Pete just wanted to feel accepted and understood. And the committee member who went to the minister just wanted everyone to be happy and cared for. Shouldn't the minister know when there is discord, and isn't it their job to fix it? We can imagine that sequence of events because we've probably been one or more of the characters in the scene. But healthy boundaries require direct communication. As soon as Pete grumbled to the other committee members, a triangle was created. I am not blaming Pete. His needs for inclusion had not been met. But going directly to Sheila, even if it meant following her to her car and asking if they could meet for coffee on a day when she wasn't pressed for time, would have changed the whole outcome. And if you're feeling a bit outraged that Sheila started this whole mess, I ask you to consider the times when you may have cut someone off or been in a hurry and not made time. We all do it. The work of community is ongoing, and boundaries are not cast in stone. This is one of the many reasons we covenant to gather in compassionate community. We strive for it, we fail. We forgive and are forgiven. We try to do better. Let's return to the tree story and give it a new ending. This ending was created by Topher Payne, and it rectifies the boundary issues between the tree and the boy. Remember how the story begins? The boy loves the tree, and the tree loves the boy. The boy wants to make a way to make some money, and the tree gives its apples to be sold. Let's pick up there and see how establishing a boundary can change the outcome.
The Tree Who Set Healthy Boundaries by Topher Payne. An alternate ending to Shel Silverstein's The Giving Tree. I'm too busy to climb trees, said the boy. I want a house to keep me warm, he said. I want a wife and I want children, so I need a house. Can you give me a house? And the tree said, Okay, hold up. This is already getting out of hand. Look, I was fine giving you apples to help you get on your feet. They'll grow back next season anyway. But no, I'm not giving you a house. You know, I've seen boys like you pull this nonsense with other trees in the forest. First, it's the apples, then branches, then the trunk, and before you know it, that mighty, beautiful tree is just a sad little stump. Well, look here, boy, I love you like family, but I am not going down like that. And while we're on the subject, the tree said, grabbing him by the collar of his shirt, I recognize friendships evolve over time, and we may not see each other as often because you don't have time for your tree friends, but we used to be real tight. Now it feels like I only see you when you need something. How do you think that makes me feel? The boy took a long breath. He felt a sour rumble in his stomach because he realized he hadn't considered his friend's feeling. I bet it makes you feel bad, said the boy. Yes, boy, bad. I can't even remember the last time you asked me how I'm doing. How are you, tree? Asked the boy. He sincerely wanted to know, so the tree told the boy all the gossip from the forest and introduced him to a family of red squirrels that had moved into her trunk. While she was glad for the company the squirrels provided, she was concerned about the long-term health effects of hosting a burrow. So the boy called the local arborist, who explained that squirrels don't eat wood. They only build nests in pre-existing holes, so the tree was in no danger. The tree was so relieved. And so was the boy. He loved his friend and was concerned about her long-term health because she had taught him the importance of empathy. And so it continued, the tree and the boy looking out for each other like that, both of them content in the knowledge that someone had their back. The boy attended culinary school. The tree took online courses and got her certification in small business management. They did their homework together nearly every day. The boy became a pastry chef. Together they opened a bakery selling the best apple pies anyone had ever tasted. It turned a profit in the first 18 months, which is most uncommon. Eventually, the boy had a son of his own. And much later, the son of the boy had his own family too. Because of their friendship, the boy was successful and fulfilled, and the tree grew wider and stronger, standing tall and beautiful in the forest for many, many, many years, plus a few years even more than that. And as each generation played in her strong older branches, the tree often thought back to the fateful day when the boy asked her for a house. In truth, she would have gladly given him her branches to build one. She would have given him her trunk to build a boat. She loved him that much. But then she would have had nothing left, not for herself nor anyone else, and there never would have been a home for the red squirrels. There'd have been no hide and seek with the boy's grandchildren, no bakery with the best apple pies anyone ever tasted. Setting healthy boundaries is a very important part of giving. It assures you will always have something left to give. And so the tree was happy. Everyone was. The end.
Well, that is certainly a more satisfying ending. Generations of the boy's family thrive in relationship to the tree, rather than the image of a lonely old man sitting on the stump of a completely depleted tree. Good boundaries make good relationships that benefit all. Let's return to the title of our service, Healthy Branches, Healthy Tree. We've considered this image through the lens of fractals, self-similar patterns across different scales, the relationship between small and large. We've established that healthy behaviors in ourselves contribute to the health of the larger system, in our case, the church's system of health and vitality. With the fractal properties of emergence, we can see how each layer has an impact on the next larger layer. But that is not the only truth. I won't ask what comes first, the branches of the tree, since it is possible to root a branch and plant it to become a tree. Also, the branch is not separate from the tree. It is the tree. When is a tree not a branch? I suppose the answer to that is when it has been nourished and allowed to grow. When is a branch not a tree? I suppose when it is cast off and alone, and no conditions exist to allow it to root. When a branch is unrooted, it cannot grow and thrive. It dries out and is drained of life. If you are raised in a biblical tradition like me, you might see where I'm going with this. In the gospel accounts, Jesus tells his disciples that he is the vine, they are the branches. He is the source, and they are nourished and grow out from that source. The healthy branches don't create the healthy tree. They reflect it and manifest it in the world. Healthy branches are connected to each other, and that connection, when rooted in the source of life, manifests as a healthy tree. The church needs us, and we need the church. We are the church. If all we do is work on our own spiritual and ethical growth, cultivating our branches, but we don't connect and become rooted, we'll never become the great oak or the shady maple or the poetically graceful willow. No one will find rest under our spindly single branch. If you're a longtime UU, you might remember the ad campaign from a few decades ago. Are you a UU and don't know it? The campaign listed attributes of Unitarian Universalists: valuing individual worth and dignity, inspired by the goal of world community, admiring reason and the findings of science, among other attributes. And then the ad claimed that if these were important to you or reflected your worldview, ta-da! You were a UU, just nobody had told you yet. In more recent years, the National Association embraced the Church Without Walls, which was really more of the same. You didn't need to go to church or be part of a community to be a Unitarian Universalist. You just needed to be sympathetic to the same issues and causes that UUs embrace, and ta-da! You were a UU. You could claim a religious affiliation and still stay home on Sundays to read the paper. You can probably guess from my slightly snarky recitation that I am not in complete agreement with these individual branch theologies. It was nearly 20 years ago that I picked up a little book by UU minister George Kimmich Beach entitled Questions for the Religious Journey. I read a lot of books, and an awful lot of wonderful insights have disappeared like the dew on a sunny morning, but I remember Beach's assertion that it is nearly impossible to be a Unitarian Universalist without a faith community. You see, we are a covenantal faith, not a creedal one. It is covenant and relationship that binds us, not a singularity of belief. We are branches, and we best grow and thrive when we are connected to a tree. We are not passive spectators, but growing aspects, manifestations of the tree. When we are connected, then our personal growth enhances the well-being of all. If you are a lone UU, a branch without a tree, you can still connect. The online Church of the Larger Fellowship is an intentional community for Unitarian Universalists who may not have access to a church home. I'm a member of CLF, the Church of the Larger Fellowship, because although I am the minister of this congregation, I am not a member here. Even ministers need to be connected to a larger tree for sustenance, or our branches wither and dry up. All of us need to be connected to a life-giving source. I remember when I worked in a college music department, we posted signs to encourage students to get involved in the various ensembles. The signs said, "If music be the food of love, why starve yourself? Make music." I feel the same way about being part of a faith community. If community be the food of love, why starve yourself? Nurture your spirit and help heal our world. Be a healthy branch on a healthy tree, even if the community is a virtual one. Connected and supporting one another, creating and maintaining good boundaries and courageous compassion. Be part of the emerging possibilities that arise within community. As we heard from Adrienne Marie Brown in our opening reading, in the framework of emergence, the whole is a mirror of the parts. Existence is fractal. The health of the cell is the health of the species and the planet. There are examples of emergence everywhere. Birds don't make a plan to migrate, raising resources to fund their way, packing for scarce times, mapping out their pit stops. They feel a call in their bodies that they must go, and they follow it, responding to each other, each bringing their adaptations. There is an art to flocking, staying separate enough not to crowd each other, aligned enough to maintain a shared direction, and cohesive enough to always move towards each other, responding to destiny together. Destiny is a calling that creates a beautiful journey. Emergence is beyond what the sum of its parts could even imagine. You are being called. Come raise your voice with us.
This is the sound of one voice, one spirit, one voice, the sound of one who makes a choice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of voices too. The sound of me singing with you, helping each other to make it through. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices too. This is the sound of voices three, singing together in harmony, surrendering to the mystery. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of voices three. This is the sound of all of us, singing with love and the will to trust. Leave the rest behind, it'll turn to dust. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of all of us. This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Thank you for joining us in worship today. I hope you have been inspired and uplifted by sharing this time together. Please see the credits at the end of this service for information about the music and other worship elements. And do take a moment to visit our website, uumherst.org, and click on the giving link, or text your gift to 833-987-1968. Thank you in advance for your generosity.
We extinguish our chalice with these familiar words. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
A benediction is a blessing, a way to close the sacred space we have shared and to transition to our regular lives, knowing we are deeply connected even when apart. These closing words come from Laurelyn Bellamy. If here you have found freedom, take it with you into the world. If you have found comfort, go and share it with others. If you have dreamed dreams, help one another that they may come true. If you have known love, give some back to a bruised and hurting world. Go in peace.